Hi everyone, welcome to another Wednesday episode of 0 to 1. We're up to episode 30 now. So lots of good content there that's building up and lots of great topics. And one that we actually had quite recently, we were being requested quite a bit on is businesses who are wanting to set up their website or even individuals who are looking at ways to be found a bit more online. Of course, obviously, if you've attended any of the sessions that we've had in the last week or so, we talked a little bit about personal branding and how you can have your LinkedIn profile. But the reality is that people still quite often search for you and your services via the web, via Google search and things like that. And we know obviously that's starting to change with the usage of AI tools, but I think there's still going to be a period of time before we see, significant change there in that sense. So it's still very much important if you're a solopreneur, if you're a small business owner, to make sure you've got a good website in shape, which is well structured and looks also aesthetically pleasing as well. And so we're really excited about this session because we've got Mark joining us here, who's got deep experience in building websites for many different brands over many years. And so we're going to have an open conversation about ways that you can, be better in that sense, or how you can build a great website and the things to look out for, maybe things to avoid as well. So without further ado, Mark, maybe if you just want to share just a little background about yourself and your business, because I know you're a sort of a serial entrepreneur in that sense as well.
Hi everyone. Okay, my name is Mark. I've been doing web development for, well over a decade. So I've been around. I've worked in both in corporate side and in as an independent solo entrepreneur uh, as of now. And one of the things that we look through is that we do meet a lot of clients who want a website. But I think the main thing that a lot of people get lost about a website is that sometimes they are just like wondering, hey, do I really need a website? I would say yes. Most of the time you do. That is usually the way that people tend to justify that you are a legit business in Singapore, especially because there are a lot of fly by wire kind of, fly by night kind of businesses where they say they are real and then end up they are not, and they are just a one person kind of show. So having a website does help. It gives people assurance that you are a living, breathing entity, and that is usually where we always start from. So today's webinar, one of the main things that we wanted to go into, I think most entrepreneurs will look in is that, I think the basic understanding of, do I need a domain? We can always start there. Or do we have any other place that we want to start from, Jamie?
Now we can start with that. I think it's good to, I think there are going to be some who will watch back or in the audience that will be
Mm.
starting very early, and then others that are a little bit more established. So it doesn't hurt to kick off from the foundation.
Yeah, I think domains are probably one of the main thing that people are always like, oh, do I need to, why is a domain so expensive and everything like that? Just as general knowledge, domains are usually yearly subscription. You have to renew them yearly. Some places will offer a bit longer tenures, like 3 years, 5 years. But usually it's a year by year basis, because then it gives you the opportunity to say, oh, my business not doing very well. I want to change my domain name. You can do that. But if you're going to continue using it, then there are some providers that actually do it long term. Whether you're doing a .com.sg or .sg does make a difference. .com.sg tends to need a entity with a UEN number. Whereas the .sg, you can simply use your IC and you can register already. So that's the main difference. So usually, solo entrepreneurs and all, we usually tend to go for .sgs because .com.sg requires a business from LLP and above, and that's usually a bit harder. So it depends on your structure of your company that you have. So once and you establish your domain, then the next thing is always, where do we go from there? Do we set up a single page website? Do we do an e-commerce website? What kind of a thing should we do? I would say that in comparison, a single page website can be useful, but it's not going to be the favorite of Google. Google doesn't like single page websites because they find that it has too little information and people don't navigate or stay on your website long enough to really make any impact. A multi-page website usually is useful. I mean, things like, the About Us page, your service catalog, your contact us, it's important to have that. But it's always a multi-page website that helps a lot more. And then, of course, you have the e-commerce portion of it. E-commerce, you have a whole host of things that you can do, from Shopify, Wix, Squarespace. Now everyone is going into e-commerce, but there are some differences, but we will probably talk about that a little bit later, about that. But I mean, the first things first is probably the difference between a single page and a multi-page. Single page is very long. They have all the information there, but they tend to be more like landing pages or converting pages that you do a single page. Multi-pages or multi-page websites are the next best thing, or rather the best thing to actually have, even if you don't have a product to sell. So I would say, if you have no choice, go for a single page. If you have a little bit more budget on time, go for a multi-page. And then, of course, if you're selling stuff, go for e-commerce website.
So just to clarify on that then, so even if you're like a solopreneur or entrepreneur or something like that, you don't necessarily have all your business maybe figured out yet, but you
Mm.
have some services, then I guess having like 2 or 3 pages would be good, because then you could have maybe one page for the services, you could have maybe an about me page or something like that, where you
Mm.
talk a little bit
Yeah.
more about your experience. That would help them to be found a bit better from a Google search point of view. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So a multi-page will be better. And of course, the tone of voice that you're using on your website. I mean, usually if you have a very conversational tone where you're sharing a lot more information about, not about your services, more about what can you do in terms of value. How do you approach a project? How do you help out and work out projects? Actually, that is what people are actually willing to read about more, as compared to, we have the best service in Singapore, and I have the best service in the region, and everyone's going to say they're the best. But
Yeah.
when you have actual conversational pieces where people are sharing about how they help the company come from, I mean, exactly to what our topic is, 0 to 1. If you can even tell the story of how you got someone from 0 to 1, that's amazing. People do read that, and actually Google loves that, because they say, oh, this is real true content that we wanna target at the end of the day. So you can make it as authentic as possible, and then from there you of course you go multi-page. So multi-page, why? Because then you can click around a bit, and they have some actions on the website, so that Google also knows that you yourself, the person who is browsing the website, is a living being as well, because nowadays there are a lot of bots everywhere, and they tend not to click further into the website. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would have to almost know where to go. I had another question, just coming back on the first bit you mentioned about domains, because I can remember, this is not quite back in the day, but it was a while ago, maybe about 10 years ago. There was quite a lot of clamoring for businesses to buying domains. They're usually like maybe like 2 letters. So if you think about like BP or something like that, people will buy like bp.com, but the domains would go for like crazy prices in that sense.
Yeah.
So I wondered, like, other than what you mentioned about recommending using a .sg domain in that sense, is there also quite a fluctuation in prices based on the domain you pick in that sense, or like the naming you want to go for? Is that
Um,
still true, or is it less?
It really depends. I would say that why a person will buy a .sg or .com.sg is that usually those domains are reserved for businesses within Singapore.
Mm.
You are related to Singapore. You are PR. You are Singaporean. Or you're a Singapore business. Then you have the ability to buy a .com.sg or .sg, whereas a .com is far cheaper. It's like a tenth of the price usually, or slightly a bit more, as compared to a .com.sg or .sg. And but those are harder to find, because unique names are going to be, most likely a person is going to take up something like, the panelist.com. Oh no, it's gone. You have not imagined the kind of things that people have already
Yeah.
found with a .com. So now you also have the end of the .com, they have changed it. Like for me, my website, I use like the .online, and some people will use all kinds of funny things and everything like that. Because I'm in a website design field, I tend to go for a bit more unusual names because it sounds a bit funnier and it's a bit cooler
Mm.
kind of thing. Yeah. But
Yeah, and
but
that
I
that
mean I mean
yeah.
but that note as well is important because I would say that one of the okay, so a tip that for all entrepreneurs out there is that buy your domain, secure your own domain, own that domain. Do not get your web developer to buy it. Even though I'm a web developer, the best is don't make us buy it, because when we buy it, we own it, and that's not good. We have to transfer it and everything like that, and it becomes a big hassle. So own the domain. It's not going to be very expensive. Own your domain and own it for life. You know what I mean? You can keep changing where the domain points to at the end of the day, but own that domain. That domain is really important, that the owner and the business owner owns it. I rather the business owner own it and I manage the hosting, because then, if you're not happy and your business changes or anything like that, you can just switch the hosting to somewhere else and it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to say, like, the domain thing is definitely a business and marketing decision as well as a technical one in that sense. It's
Yeah.
not just about the setup. It's then how do people find you? How to if you want people to share you word of mouth, for example, you maybe I do see some people these days that are maybe solopreneurs or freelancers. They use their full name as like the website. So it could be like, for
Yeah.
me, it could be like
Yeah.
jamiepierre.com or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, easy for people to remember because it's like, okay, I know the person's name, it's their name.com or
Yeah.
.sg or something in that sense. So,
And 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 you
yeah.
also can get very creative about your domain names, You can go really creative. Like how to start a business.com, or those kind of
Yeah.
things are amazing. And because it's catchy, people will actually remember it well. Or of course, if you're a Singaporean, then you can use all the Singlish add-ons, the
Yeah.
at the back with the la or the
Yeah.
law,
Yeah.
and yeah, those are actually quite unique. People remember that quite well, actually. It's quite funny, actually. I've seen that.
Yeah, yeah, I love it when or even when you see it sometimes on the vans and stuff driving by, like a local
Then you're like,
business.
yeah, I should
Yeah,
have
it's
thought
cute.
of that name. My goodness, why didn't I use that name? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Moving on to the website itself, I would say
Mm,
that there are many variations that you can do. You have Squarespace, you have Wix. They are great places to be at. They have really good layouts. The only issue is that you're gonna be pretty stuck with whatever template that they have, and you're gonna be stuck. And the likelihood of you finding another business with a very similar template is pretty high. You go in there, you're like, oh, this template is so
yeah,
nice. Then you look at another person's website, you're like, oh, okay, I think they use the same plan template as me. Like, yeah, oh, okay. And you cannot really customize that much. And if you do customize, you can get a developer to customize it. It's as good as, as soon as the platform says, oh, we have introduced this new update. Please get all of your plugins updated. You'll be like, oh, I need to get the developer to go and update it again. Like, oh goodness, and that can be quite painful. I've seen that happen for Shopify.
hmm
Shopify, they have you can go to Team Forest and buy a really really cheap theme for Shopify. And then if once and Shopify comes up with an update, they will just tell you, oh, you have to update your theme. And then you can message them and they say, oh, sorry, you didn't buy the theme from us, the Shopify store. We cannot help you. You have to get your developer from wherever you got your stuff from Team Forest, to go and come and fix it. Yeah. So
yeah,
so for
and I suppose
Shopify,
that has
yeah.
additional costs, right? Then because
Oh
then you've got
yeah, a
to,
lot of costs. Yeah, so that is why sometimes, like for Shopify, the trick is to actually get a theme under their Shopify store, because once you buy their theme under the Shopify store, it's for life. They will keep updating it free for you. They won't charge you anymore. So
that's
there's
good.
a little trick down there that people don't realize. It's a bit expensive. Their themes are about, like, if I'm not wrong, like US $300 $400 for just a theme alone, but they
All
are
right, okay.
updated, and they are always, you can call up Shopify helpline, contact us, and they will be like, oh, okay, we'll get the developer to fix it up. Then like, oh, okay. And there's a list out of
Yeah,
similar,
so
which is great.
even if the upfront is a bit higher, you
Yeah,
save in the long run because you don't have to keep engaging a
yeah,
third party to
yeah.
make the changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a question just related to those platforms because it's something I'm really curious about. Like some of the businesses that we work with are maybe say SMEs, and so they have ambitions to kind of keep scaling. It's different, of course, if you're just purely a solopreneur, you might not have this challenge. But at what point do those kind of like Wixes and WordPresses and those types of sites get to a point where I don't know, they can't sustain a certain amount of web traffic and transactions and things like that? Is there a certain point where like as a business owner you need to say, right now I need to transition to a completely custom site or something like that?
No, I would say that most of them in their premium level, uh, the premium level of their website is already quite good. As in, they always have a premium level, and their premium
Mm,
level can reach the best. As in, the speed is going to be great, the movement of things are going to be fine. But again, you're going to be there stuck to the team unless you have very specific customizations that you want to make. Those are going to be very difficult, and therefore that is usually where you will say, "Oh, okay, I need to get a proper development done," and it can get quite painful. If you look at Wix, you look at Squarespace, they are actually fine as long as you don't want to go like, you want to develop, oh, I want to add in this unusual function that only my company has, and I want to get that. Oh, that one is always going to be a bit of a it's going to be a bit of a headache at the end of the day. Yeah.
yeah,
But if you go for custom development, I mean, it's not as if the custom developments are without its problems. If you do like a WordPress custom development, the only thing is that you need to make sure that you have some means to update the entire website. Keep it up
yeah,
to date, keep the security patches going. Or usually, what happens is that when the developer finishes developing the website, they usually have a maintenance service, and that's usually not very expensive. Usually, I would say that maintenance service should be about 10% to 15% of the original cost of the
yeah.
website, and that's about it you're going to pay usually because they're not going to do major stuff with it. Yeah.
Is that an ongoing one or is that like a one-off
Usually
amount?
it's an ongoing one. It's ongoing. Yeah. So usually the range we will say that if it goes above 25%, it's too expensive. So that means if you spend $1,000 on your website, um, for example,
Yeah,
you only expect to pay like 250 for the maintenance per year kind of thing. It's about 25% of that. It's as simple. It's the math that you guys are going to be doing at the end of the day. So some websites can be a bit more expensive because a lot more work goes into it, but that's about it.
yeah. Well, we've got a question that's fired, and I don't know if you want to address it. I was actually thinking a little bit on these lines because it's been in the news this week about like Lovable raising a certain investment and now being
Yeah,
valued at
yeah,
$2
yeah.
billion. And so the question
Yep.
that came in said, why wouldn't we use something like Lovable, Kimi, Bolt to create a website for us? So I guess that kind of vibe coding side of things, like
Yeah.
what would you think
Oh
about
no,
that?
no, no. I totally agree. I think that at the end of the day, when you are creating a website under any of these providers, they are fine. Most of the time, the website really is good, but how much time do you have to invest in it? It's
Yeah,
about the time that you have to invest, right? Uh, Getting someone to do your website is a service. It's not in the heyday of web development where only the developer can develop the website. Now you can develop the website yourself because you can use any of these plug and play, drag and drop. Voila, I have a website done. But do you
yeah,
have the time? Are your expertise in this area of developing a website? If they are and you have the time to do it, go ahead. We know that you have the time, then get it done. You know what I mean? It's about
yeah,
getting the work done at the end of the day. But who do you talk to when you want something specific answer? Like, oh, I wanna I wanna add this in. How do I do it? And then how much time are you gonna be spending or investing to be able to overcome those issues or those things that you want to be you want to see on your website?
yeah. It's fair, and
Yeah.
and the bits I would try and add, and I'm also mindful. I don't want to maybe go too deep on the technicals just because I don't want to lose people in that sense. But also speaking from the experience of us, or do a circle, like we have a developer team that helps us build out the website. We're doing things with the architecture and everything like that. And I suppose just for clarity of everybody, when you develop something, you have the front end side of things, which is going to be what the customer maybe sees or your visitor sees when they land on the website. But then there's all the back end bit, which is like the database and all that information where that goes. And from what I understand so far, like the lovables and bolts and things like that are really good tools to get you basically that front end bit done. So it can maybe make it look nice and feel nice, but then actually plugging in the databases and the I don't know, there might be APIs and things like that. That involves more development, and it's not necessarily built for that just yet. So you can maybe use it to create a prototype of what your website what you want the website to look like, but you probably still need to engage a developer to do that further, because I
Yeah.
think then you're getting into sort of too deep a territory in that sense. Like, and even still, the beginning website, you need to be able to know what to prompt it as well. So, I'm not discouraging anyone from trying that. Like, we're all going through that right now of testing out different prompts and seeing what the
Yeah, yeah,
outputs are that we get.
yeah. I mean, AI is wonderful. They do a good job, but again, at the end of the day, you got so many AI platforms coming up, so many AI generated stuff. How do you stand out? You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So everything after a while will look really artificial. So then they're looking for that tone of voice. How do you stand out from that portion of it? Because AI only can understand that much. Your prompt engineering has to be really, really, really good. And what is stopping another person from doing a better prompt engineering as compared to yourself? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
so it's always a never ending kind of battles.
yeah. But
Uh,
this was another question that came in just
yeah.
related to this before we move to the next topic. So it said, from your experience, have you found any patterns that most converting websites share? So even across different industries, like, are there any
Yes.
key
Yes,
things
yes,
in
there
that?
is. There is. I would say the main pattern is that you will see that really good websites, they usually have, I mean, we also have to understand the persona of the customer coming to your website. There are two types of personas that usually come to your website. One who already knows what they want, and the other one who's just shopping around, right? The one that knows what they just want to click somewhere to get things done. Oh, the call to action button is there. Oh, I click it, I get it. I need to make a schedule call with you. Oh, I click it, I schedule it. You know what I mean? They already have made up their mind. They are not, you're not trying to convert them. They already are, they are literally sitting on the fence. They just need to get through that door and say, okay, I need to talk to you. And then you have the other type who are still shopping around. They're looking around. They're trying to find out a bit more of the product. They want to see, oh, does it fit me? So because of that, the pattern usually is the first part that you see, you will have a really strong call to action always at the top. So that's the people who want to get to know about your website or know that particular service or just get in touch, they can go and do it straight away. And then you start breaking down into that the service, what do you provide. Usually you want to start with some assurance for the customer. You want to assure them that you're a subject matter expert. You are well reviewed. You work with a lot of partners. So usually you will see logos. People will share their logos of partners they've worked with or projects that they have done. And then you're not trying to go for hard sell product. Usually you're gonna be gonna introduce them to your brand, try to establish where you are exactly in the market, and then you start talking about the service quality that you offer, and then it goes down to the conversion portion of it. So it's really storytelling in a single page, and that's where the most of the patterns will always fall into. And of course, you have the extreme. You have the extreme patterns where they just want to break the mold, and say, oh, we're just gonna change the whole way of how we're gonna do the website. We just want to make it, very, very fancy, and that also catches the eye. So, but that one you need a person who is extremely creative or team who are extremely creative who can create that wow factor. But most of the time, we don't.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. And I think what you just described is really interesting as well, because again, I'm sort of speaking like I try and apply like the learnings that we've had as well, in that we run some ad campaigns, for example. And so with an ad campaign, we want to send somebody to a landing page, a specific page with an action. Whereas, of course, if somebody just browses and comes on the Do a Circle site, then we need to make sure that we're, as you said, telling that story who we are,
Yeah.
what's the value proposition, where's the social proof, so the testimonies you mentioned, things like that. And then also then at that point hope that they connect with that content and then want to continue navigating in that sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. Like it's about maybe that if you're that small business owner, that entrepreneur, you're thinking about starting, just think about what are the different actions you want your customers to do, and then you can design that around those actions as well. So as you said, if
Yeah.
it's somebody, I think obviously like if you're in a position where your service or your product is so unique or is absolutely the best price or something like that, then you can drive on the action because you're the most competitive in that regard. But then I guess if you're one of many, or it's maybe a service that's very niche or brand new and so unknown, that's where you want that education content, I think, right, to be able to
Yeah.
inform the quest.
Yeah. So I think that also answers the next question, in terms of, in terms of the patterns for landing pages and everything like that. It is not really changing. I would say that they are all purposeful. Landing pages and your normal website, they have their own purpose, and they are not really changing that much because it's all about consumer behavior and what the consumer does at the end of the day. Uh, so so having the information goes two ways. One thing is for sure is that the more information you have about your service and product, actually AI is also picking up on it nowadays, and that's really the key. Because some people are now, they are just going to Google to do their search. They're not going to Google. I mean, they are going to AI to do their search rather than going to
Hmm.
Google. And therefore, again, it's about information. How much information do you have on your website to explain your service, explain who you are, explain what you do, so that even the bots are also catching it for AI itself.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and that kind of leads a little bit into the next question that was asked by John, saying how is AI, like LLM, so large language models, changing things
Mhm.
for indexing? Google is dead, obviously. Yeah, that's they're in a bit of bother, I guess, versus what they used to be in that sense. And then he
Um,
mentioned like robots dot text versus LLM text for indexing. How soon before AI overtakes search
um,
engine marketing?
I think you have to remember that Google is a big animal, and they pivot. They can pivot really well because they have the money to do so. So they will not let something like robots.txt die out. They are doing stuff on the back end that people don't see, because I mean, as soon as they expose it to the market, everyone's going to follow, and they
Mm.
are already going for the next stages. They are not blind to the fact that AI is going to take over a lot of stuff, but they also do not want to lose their market share at the end of the day. So they're gonna go to the ends of the world to get things done. So there are things that are being done. I would say that um large language models for indexing, yeah, it will take over, but you'll be surprised that I won't, or rather, I won't be surprised if robots.txt has a version 2 where they're actually gonna be the LLMs are actually part of it already. Uh, it's in there, but they're just not really talking about it much at all.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to add something on that as well. I think that it also comes a little bit down to what your business is, what industry, and so on. Because I mean, Google. I think Google search is certainly becoming more obsolete versus, if I use a Perplexity or even a ChatGPT or ChatGPT search, then you're going to get that answer. It's going to be free of advertisements. It's the information I see is based on what the AI um, interface thinks is the best information as opposed to what it's being paid to show me.
Yeah.
Um, but then you still have things like Google Maps and all those types of services, which are going to take a bit longer. All those traditional industries, think about like restaurants and hotels and I don't know, mechanics and plumbers and things like that sort of thing, that still kind of feed through those in that sense. So
Mm.
yeah, I think you'd be silly to not be optimizing for it, but I don't necessarily think it's going to happen as rapidly. in that sense, because I think there's still that average Joe, sorry to not to, put anyone down in that sense, but who's just going to use what they know in that sense, those systems, and they
Yeah.
might be a bit more intimidated by those kinds of AI search
Yeah,
tools.
yeah. End of the day, because you're still building a website, I would say that again, it's about the authentic voice. I think authentic voice is coming in to play more and more often, because AI is also trying to detect, am I scouring a place that is already AI? You know what I mean? A lot of AIs now are like looking at places like, oh, okay, it sounds AI. Like AI is telling themselves it sounds too AI. And at the
Yeah,
end of the day, they're not gonna start looking at these places. They're gonna start looking at what's that difference that you are writing that that stands out differently from your competitors. And therefore that is what actually they're gonna start to rank for. So yeah, there's a lot of changes. Coming back to the topic about the developmental tools, I think we've talked a fair bit about um, the platforms that you can use out there that that you can do development yourself.
mm,
Those are fine. I think those are great. I have worked with many of those as well for my customers, because some of them, again, is about time. I would say that my service now as a web developer is more of, you don't have the time, I'll get it done for you at this price. And
yeah,
at the end of the day, that's what's happening for most of us. It's no more of, oh, I'm gonna do this fancy website because I'm the best. It's like, oh, I can do that on Wix. There's nothing tremendous of what you can do. But it's that service that we are offering to help out the customer to get things done. The next is, I would say, again, that conversation. I mean, as part of this webinar, we were saying that what are the decision processes that we can save some time on. So I would say that one of the things that I usually experience when I talk to a customer is about, oh, I want to do e-commerce website
yeah,
e-commerce, right? I want to do e-commerce website. I want to use Shopify. I want to use, something like that and work. Shopify is one of the best.
yeah,
I'm also a Shopify partner, but at the end of the day, you need to understand that Shopify is expensive. It's really expensive because you're not only looking at the monthly subscription prices for the Shopify platform. Every single plugin that you pay is money, and they
yeah,
like to charge you annually, and it can be quite crazy unless your business is making that kind of money that these costs are like, oh, I'm just going to stick to Shopify, I'm not going to develop a website. Then yeah, fine. But you have to understand that Shopify can be really, really expensive. I think they can rank up to about $1,800 to $1,000 a month, easily, just by the plugins alone. It's crazy. Some of the plugins are really expensive. So you have to be very watchful about Shopify. But why would I advise a customer to use Shopify? Is because they haven't really figured out their business yet. So I
all
like
right,
Shopify, especially when they are a new commerce business. Or I want to sell a product. Shopify settles everything for you. Inventory, how to manage your numbers, where to buy, everything is there. You wanna get an intern, or even your younger sibling or cousin to again, put in the product details and everything like that. Oh, so simple. Shopify is the easiest. If you know how to use, we used to tell customers, oh, if the person knows how to use Word or Excel, Shopify, we can definitely teach them Shopify. They can use the whole platform at the back. You cut and drag and drop pictures, you change it a little bit, oh, done. Website,
yeah,
products are uploaded and all. So Shopify, I would say, is good for people who are starting out in commerce businesses. I think those are really the best. Uh, WooCommerce and everything like that is a little bit more custom, and it's when you are ready to really, really go into serious selling, then those kind of platforms do a bit better, where it is more custom built websites.
yeah, yeah. That's a fair point. I think sort of come into contact with quite a few of them in the past, but I can recall working with a business before on a Shopify site, and I found it quite user friendly, and I'm sure it's probably
Or
improved
super
a lot
user
since
friendly.
then as well.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah,
also but also also a bit limited. You want to do stuff, you're like, okay, where did they put this the meta tags? Where in the world are the meta tags? Then you go and look around and like, oh, they changed the place of where they put it. Like, oh, great. Yeah, you have to keep looking around.
yeah,
Sometimes you have to,
yeah. Actually,
yeah, you have to keep
that
up to date.
That reminds me, actually, I remember one example where they had the checkout page, and they wanted to add some script on the checkout page. And then when they went to go and do it, it turns out that you needed the tier of Shopify above or the one they had, and that was, and
Yeah, they
otherwise
will
there
ask
was
you
zero
to sign up for that
customization.
1 year. They ask you to, oh, you want this API? I think it's an API thing where they will open up a API gateway for you, and then to only get it, you have to sign up. You have to pay for 1 whole year of subscription. Ahead of
Yeah,
time, then they were like, oh, okay, now we release it for you. Like, what? Seriously? Yeah, and they do stuff like that. I mean, they are
yeah,
still trying to make money. You know what I mean? End of the day, you still are at the mercy of them. Okay, we have a question here. How to compete with offshore services, especially in Asia, Vietnam, Indonesia, arbitrage? Yeah, I agree. Their rates can be much, much cheaper. But again, it's about for me, my approach to customers is you have a face-to-face service. I'm a Singapore-based business. I'm gonna deal with you directly in front of your face. You want to meet up with me, I can talk to you, and we more or less speak the same jargon. You know what I mean? We will more or less be able to converse easily. Sometimes when you work with counterparts from Indonesia, Vietnam, you have to adhere to their working culture. They have different working cultures. We have a very different working culture in Singapore. For example, not to put anyone down, but I would say like in Philippines, they have a lot of holidays, a crazy amount of holidays. They have their district holiday, they have their town holiday, and you're like, what? Going for holiday again? Yeah, they have a lot of
yeah,
those, and those can be a bit like, what? Seriously, you went for holiday? So it can be a bit funny when you have to deal with them. I would say that yes, they are 4 times less, but as long as you're willing to work at a probably slightly slower pace, unless you have everything already, because they are not going to be there to tell you, hey, I don't think this page content density is high enough. I think we need to increase it. The likelihood of them telling you that is next to zero. They will just tell you, oh, okay, you provide me with content, I'll put it up, and that's it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah, and that's all
yeah,
they
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of benefit in having partners, or service providers that are close to home, because they're going to understand the market.
yeah,
They're going to, they're going to understand, because I mean, we work in the most exciting part of the world, in Asia Pacific, or Southeast Asia even more
yeah.
specifically. But there are so many different languages. There's different e-commerce maturities,
Yeah.
different cultures, in that
The
sense.
culture, the
So
culture portion is always the one that mind boggles me. I'm
yeah.
like, what holiday you having now? Like, oh, well,
Yeah,
holiday
yeah.
again. Like, huh? Okay, holiday again. Like,
But even
wow.
even thinking about it from a customer point of view as well, in terms of like how people browse. If you work with somebody like
Mm,
yourself, you're going to understand that market dynamic more. And so therefore, if somebody then says, right, I want to do this with my website, for example, you might say, okay, well, I appreciate you want to do that, but by the way, this is not necessarily best practice for this
yeah,
country or this region,
correct.
because XYZ. And therefore that's again the additional value you get from having somebody on the ground in that sense. So yeah, I think you've always got to weigh it up as a business owner or a freelancer, in that sense of like, um, do you just want something, or do you want something which is going to be tailored for your customer base?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
There's another
Okay,
couple of
next.
questions there as well. Yeah, you go.
What's something you see SMEs copying from big brands that doesn't work for them? Uh, hmm. Nothing. Actually, all the stuff that they're copying is actually quite pretty much open. There's nothing tremendous that people have come up with that a small SME cannot do. It's just a matter of whether you can spend that time to create the content or create that nice image and the amount of investment you're willing to put in. There are people who are trying to copy a lot of things like what do you call it? Um Infographics. They try to attempt to copy an infographic, but you must understand that those big companies have spent money with a proper graphic designer to get it really done really well, and they are really fitting everything into a nice page. And I think for an entrepreneur, if you're not willing to spend that kind of money on a good graphic designer to get that done, then it's just going to fall short. The idea will be good, but it's not going to be great. So I
Yeah.
would say that there's nothing that any of the big boys putting stuff on their website that you cannot copy. The favorite is always, I will always hear a customer say, "Oh, I want a website that looks like Apple." I look at them like, "Oh, wow, okay, you want a website that looks like Apple.com. Do you know how much they spend on their development to just get Apple.com done up like that? They spend
Mm.
hundreds and thousands of dollars to get that done. They have teams and teams of, they have teams of graphic designers, teams of developers. Yeah, if you're paying that kind of money and you don't get something like Apple.com, I think it's a bit worrying. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
you know what I
exactly. Yeah.
mean? And so therefore it can be quite difficult. You need to understand that you need to pace yourself a little bit. The pacing of, what can we reach? If you want to compare yourself to the big boys, then okay, then big budget. If you can afford the big budget, yeah, we can create something great for you. But if you cannot afford the big budget, then we can try to follow similar, very much similar kind of a feel, but we cannot follow exact. It's going to be hard to follow exactly what they're doing because you look at the Apple website, the graphics are perfect. They make the graphics fit into your website so nicely. The speed of it is so good. Why? Because you spend time optimizing it and it takes time. It's not a I can do it overnight kind of thing. It takes hours and days and a lot of effort. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that there's nothing really that the big brands have done that we cannot copy, but we need to take note that we need to also be able to invest that kind of time and money into content or the actual end product to be able to get that.
I would just add just lastly as well, because I used to work with a lot of e-commerce companies, and we would focus on conversion rate optimization. So trying to help customers get through from first landing on the page to buying or taking a service or something. And of course, a lot of businesses would focus on like the Amazons, and I guess in this part of the world, the Shoppies or Lazadas in that sense. And I guess there's things that their websites have that work for them because they're kind of these big marketplaces with many different products and categories and things like that. But you can still take some good best practice from them because
Yeah,
again, like what you just mentioned, like Amazon spend thousands or millions of dollars on finding out what is the best like navigation bar, what is going to get help people find the product as quick as possible, as easy and
yeah,
so on. So use that as inspiration, but also realize that you're probably not trying to create a new Amazon, so you don't need to just copy and paste it, otherwise it wouldn't be so good.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, very, very much correct. I mean, it's always you have to really measure what you're asking for and whether it can be achieved at the end of the day. Okay, so next one is oh
I don't
yeah,
know if that's a question, but
good project manager client needs to know what. I would say I totally agree. Group project managers are impossible to find, and if you find them, they'll probably get headhunted really very fast. And that's the reality of life. You know what I mean? If you have a really, really good project manager, they won't remain your project manager for long because they will be headhunted like no one's business. They'll be like, oh, one of the big boys have offered me something or another, and you're like, okay, great. You can't fight with that.
yeah, so I don't really have anything else to say to that. Okay.
I think John has put in some
I
messages.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, so John had mentioned that web scraping by AI is improved, and AI user
Mm.
experience can help, but never to the level of design of their own nuances. For
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
doesn't
I
emphasize
agree.
much
I
time.
agree.
Yeah,
But I think that is where again it's about the investment of time. Actually, some time should always be placed by a SME to just get their branding figured out. I would say that really gives a lot of value at the end of the day. Just spend some
yeah,
time on your branding. You know what I mean? What kind of design you want? What is the feel you want? What are the colors you want? What are the kind of font that you want? And that's it. Sometimes it really really helps just to get that done yourself and really spend some time. I would say yeah, web scraping has improved a lot. AI is doing a wonderful job with it, but again, they lose that human aspect of what they are just taking. They're just going to take any data that they see, and they're not going to make sense
yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, and sometimes they miss things that you look at it, you're like, why didn't you capture this particular portion? And yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for the link as well, John. I've added it to my tabs, so I'll have a read of that as well, that article, and encourage others to have a look at that
Oh
as well. John.
yeah, yeah. I know. I think I read this one before. They just spend they spend tons of money on their market research and everything like that, and end of the day was oh, just that small little button, the continue button. That's all we needed. Like, oh yeah. But
Yeah.
again, you see
Yeah.
people. But again, you see that's where we were talking about the Apple one, right? The Apple, that small little
Yeah.
buy now or shop now that they have at one corner, and you notice it and you press it. It's not there because you notice it and press it. It's because they have designed it that you will notice it and you will press it. You know what I
Yeah. And
mean?
they've
So you
A/B
have to look at it
tested
that
or
way.
ABCD
Yeah,
tested, or
they have
you know,
tested, like, I think, I do not know, a gajillions amount of ridiculous things,
yeah.
and
And you think of the
yeah,
amount of traffic as well that they get. They're getting tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of visits every hour. And
yeah,
so you can easily get to like a significant sample size of data. Whereas for the typical SME website, that could take 1 month, 2 months, 6 months to get that level of data in that sense. So
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot that goes behind it,
Yeah,
not to,
there's a lot that goes behind it. It's a really good one to point out. Yeah, they do spend that kind of money, but they can't spend that kind of money.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And to them, it's a business expense. $3 million, like, oh, it's just a business expense. Oh, yeah, put a continue button, great, let's do it. You know what I mean? For them, 3 million is like, all right, 2 million
yeah,
out of,
drop
it's a
in the
drop.
ocean.
Yeah, a drop in the ocean, and they're like, oh, okay, just 3 million. To us, it's like, oh, seriously, you spend that kind of money? My
Yeah.
goodness, just for one, yeah, they do. So but that actually is a good point. When you develop your website, get everyone to go and look at it. Get your whole family to look at it. Go and make any comments you want about it. You're like, oh, just have a look at my website. Tell me whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? And let them go and do it. They are the best testers that you have out there. They are probably going to be the most brutally honest testers out there as well. They can tell
Mm,
you your website is, I don't know what you're trying to sell. And
yeah.
those are the best kind. I mean, to me, that's the best kind of feedback. At the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, they may spend $3 million, but we have families, so you can use that, family and friends, to go and look at your site. So yeah, it can be quite good as well.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something actually. I was just checking the name to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing because, obviously if anybody here has ever worked in any marketing, there's lots of different things, right? You've got like psychographics and demographics and things like that. But there's also ethnographics, which is the kind of study of behavior. And
Hmm.
and I think your website is the perfect example of how you could use an ethnographic approach to it, like a market research type thing, where you literally just have your friends or family or business partner, whoever it is, have the website up in front of them and just watch what they do, watch where they get stuck. There are tools I know out there, like,
Hmm.
you could use something like Hotjar, which helps you measure whether people are where they're
Our
navigating on the
clarity,
site and things like that.
yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
there's a few of them in that sense, but you can just
yeah.
see people, right, and see, okay, they're getting stuck at a certain point. Do they miss that thing?
Hmm.
And just monitor that, and that will help you also figure out what works and what doesn't work on the site. If someone sort of says, oh, I didn't even see that word box or something like that, or I didn't understand it, then okay, that's something I
Yeah,
might need to fix.
yeah, definitely. I would say the next thing, other than the e-commerce site, again, when I have a conversation with a person who wants to set up e-commerce website, I always ask them the question, okay, have you sold stuff online before? Oh, no, this is my first time. Okay, Shopify. Oh, why you want me to use Shopify? Because it's cheap. You spend a few months on it, you try it out for a while, you put your product there, no one buys, then the likelihood is that, you need to really bump up your marketing. If you are running a e-commerce store and you have a bulk of money, spend about like 25 to 30% on that, on the website development, and just start selling. The most important is really to market it and sell it. That's a lot more important, because the ideal is, I can market, I can start selling, I make enough money, then developing a really good website after that is like, oh yeah, sure. And the good thing is when you use a platform like, especially like Shopify or if I'm not wrong, Wix, you've already tested what works. So you have an idea of, what kind of structure you want, what kind of feel you want. And therefore, when you go to a custom development, you already know what you want. And if you tell a developer, hey, can you develop something that I already have, which is looks like this on WooCommerce, can you get it done? You have already resolved 70% of what the developer needs to do. You'll be like, oh, you want it like that? Sure. I can get you there. You know what I mean? But if you tell the person, oh, I want a store that can do this, but I think I want that, and I think I want to add this in, you keep adding in stuff. It's a long journey to get your website done. You know what I mean? Because you
Mm.
have no idea what you want. But if you already tested it on an existing website where you know it works already, then that is a good place to start. Say, can you do the same kind of store for me, but a little bit better? I need to add this, I need to add that. This is what is lacking. Can you do that? Oh, well, developers, we love it because you already have some idea. And therefore we can build up on that idea. Yeah. So
Yeah.
beyond design and so forth, what are people using to get traffic? Campaign-based socials are all omni-commerce marketing, right? They're going for omni-commerce feel. They are going for omni-marketing. They're just going for every single channel that you can get. So a blog that you put up, it has to be authentic. Then put it up onto your website, put it up onto your socials, target back. Those are the things that work very well. I would say that start with a good blog. It's always good to start with a good blog first and make it consistent, and then work from getting all the socials targeting that particular blog. So you have some content surrounding going back to the blog. So the main idea is, where do I convert customers at? Do I convert customers on my website, or do I convert my customers on my Instagram, for example, where I want them to message me? So then you have to put that key content, the cornerstone content, in that platform and get everything else to target that platform. So if
Mm.
my website is where I'm going to convert my customer, Instagram has to target my website, Facebook has to target my website, my EDMs has to target my website. And that's where I want to convert people at. So the good information, the solid information should be on your website. If you're going for a marketing where your Instagram is your cornerstone, then everything should target Instagram, even your website. I have my posts on my website showing all the different posts. So people are like, "Wait, actually our Instagram looks pretty active." And therefore I will go on to your Instagram. Then you need
Mm.
to figure out where is your cornerstone. Where do you want to sell at? So to answer John in that sense, I would say that always fix up where is your cornerstone and target that cornerstone. You know, so use whatever means to get it there, because even long form content can go on Instagram. YouTube also is a great place because you can do a video, long form video, and people will, and YouTube will create shorts for you and everything like that.
Yeah, I think that's great. And then this is obviously, I know we're kind of on the 0 to 1
Yeah.
vibe today, and so there's completely different tactics and things like that you might use when you're a bit further down the line. But I guess even if you start developing the blog sooner, that content will help you to eventually start ranking on certain topics. You have the possibility, and again, this is no guarantee to anybody, that if your content is good and authoritative and answers a particular query, then you might get featured in the Google search snippets. And
Yeah.
and that snippet basically is right at the top, just below, I think, the paid advertising. So you almost get like better than the first rank on a search through generating that content. And even you can use AI tools to kind of help you do it in that way, but you definitely want to make sure that you still incorporate your own point of view, your own expertise, and so on, because I
Yeah.
think otherwise then your overall authority will be questioned, I guess, by the scraping in that sense, because then it's not
Yeah.
really
I
seen to
think
be.
Yeah, I think another tip that I can give is that you need to make your information consistent, especially things to do with your business. If your business is called XYZ, in this XYZ Private Limited, make sure it's spelled in the same way, addressed in the same format in all your platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Maps, your website. Everything has to be the same because Google takes that as, why is your private limited spelled full private limited in your Google Maps, but in your website it's a PTE Ltd? Or they will actually look at it and say, oh, maybe this is not the same company, and therefore, they do not relate them together. So you need to make sure that all that information that you give is extremely consistent, right up to the punctuation marks. Just make sure they're the same. You know what I mean? And that makes a difference. So that tip is usually something that we tend to miss out on. Like, just keep it consistent. Consistent can be even your company name with a private limited, or with you want to call it whatever you want. That's really important. You need to get that thing right all the way. Everywhere they go, they see the same name, or they start to relate it. I think we have a question. We treat about
Yeah.
us pages like an afterthought. Yeah, it is worth doing well. Again, it's about scraping. Scraping the internet and trying to find out a bit more about you, because people also want to learn where are you coming from, and all. And the About Us page is very useful because you can retarget it using an internal link from the blog that you create, right? If you create a blog, you want people to go to your About Us page, so you can use that as one of the links. Like, oh, my XYZ Private Limited, you do the internal link to the About Us page, perfect. You know what I mean? So that, in terms of Google, they will look at it and like, oh, wow, you're very well internally linked. And that's really useful. And, you, of course, have some external links that make sense. And that's good.
Other question there. Any thoughts on mobile ready, phone gap? I'm not sure what that is. Sorry, John.
Everything should be
Customer
mobile ready.
HTML.
Everything should be mobile ready now.
Yeah.
I would say that 85% to 95% of your customers are going to be on mobile. The people who are okay, I usually ask customers this. I say, oh, oh yeah, great, great. You want a website to look like this on desktop? So which of your competitors' websites do you see on your desktop? And they're like, oh yeah, this. I say that is what your competitors are doing to you. And you'll be surprised that most of your desktop customers or desktop views are all your competitors, because that's how they're staring at you. They're not going to stare at you on your mobile because it's too private, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, that's what I do. It's like, yes, exactly. So the likelihood of they are the ones who are using the desktop extremely high. And they are probably the ones that attribute like 50% of all your desktop views are all your competitors staring at you. Most of it is going to be mobile. So if you are mobile ready, it has to be mobile ready. You have to build your website as mobile ready as possible. Don't forget that. So those systems that they have around, um, all of them work really well, but it's again time and effort. You have to put in the time and effort to get it done. HTML5 is going to be the best, I would say, because that one has tremendous potential for everything that you want to do. Yeah, and I think HTML5 is one of the best around, which can actually reach all the platforms as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think the majority of our traffic is on mobile from our analytics. I think we still probably have a challenge, and I think this maybe touches on John's comment just then around testing and security and things like that. I guess is that certain services, depending on your business type, I guess, there's still sometimes a hesitance from customers to actually make the final leap on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
So to actually make that payment, which slightly led to one of the questions I was going to ask you earlier, which is like, if you're got your website set up and things like that, are there any particular kind of payment platforms you recommend? Because I know a lot of people use Stripe and things like that, but it's like, are there
HitPay
any
app.
other ones? Huh?
HitPay. HitPay. I love HitPay.
HitPay.
HITPAY. HITPAY app. They are linked to Stripe as well. They can do your QR code payments, Atomi. I'm not a partner with them in any circumstance. I'm not related to them, but they are one of the best that I've worked with, because I have them using for Shopify. I have them with Wix. I have them with WooCommerce a lot, and all perfect. They do really well. I think HitPay app is one of the best apps out there. In terms
Yeah.
of and it's local. So you got local clearance and everything like that. PayPal can be a bit of a pain, It's more like PayPal, more like it, because they will go like, oh, we are flagging you for fraudulent investigation, and then they will hold your money like for 30 days. I remember I had a client who had like almost like 30,000-40,000 dollars stuck in PayPal because they thought they was having a fraudulent thing. He's like, I sell cakes. How can how can a cake be fraudulent? Come on. And they didn't want to release it until like we had to write in to them, and like 45 days later, then they released out. And he's like, I sell cakes, for goodness sake. What other
Yeah.
transaction? Have you seen my website? I only sell cakes. I don't sell anything else. How can that be fraudulent in any way? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was it
and you
was
just think,
absolutely a
right,
headache.
that's a small business owner. They probably need that revenue to be able to buy
Yeah.
ingredients to make the products and things. So yeah,
It
that could
was
that
it
could have a
yeah
big impact.
initial challenges of working with some payment gateways was like, what, cakes?
Yeah,
If you tell me they sold some services and everything like that, yeah, okay, I understand they can be a bit dubious and everything like that, but cakes, come on, guys, yeah, but yeah. HitPay is
yeah,
one of the best. They have good integrations around. I think their QR code integration is really good. That means once you go like WooCommerce, you pay by QR code, it straight away does the link up with your system to say the purchase has been gone through. It it reconciles with your bank, and it also transfers it like, I think like 0.5 days later. So half a day later you get your money in your bank already. So it's really fast. Clearance
brilliant.
is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the things as well. Like again, like maybe John, you have a point of view on this as well. Is that if I guess if you've got more mobile traffic, but there's hesitation from a mobile audience to purchase, if you have enough options for them that maybe involve less manual entry of your credit card and things like that. So if it's like Apple Pay or Google Pay or something like that,
Mm.
or Grab Pay later or Payla, depending on where you are in that sense, those options at least maybe offer that little bit more comfort to say, look, okay, you're going through a already well defined system that you're okay with. Just like I guess people sometimes want to sign up to a website with their social credentials rather than that. Yeah. Or yeah. So John mentioning SingPass and CourtPass for identity. So yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
If
you
you can input
can
your details
integrate
for
that.
something.
Yeah, yeah, you can integrate that, but that's a bit of a pain. There are a lot of protocols that you need to achieve in order to get a SingPass API. I will also say that gather the info that you really need. If you're an e-commerce store, just take the info you really need. If it's a online product, please do not take their address. You don't need it. Don't even ask for their address. It's absolutely a no-no. Just take the stuff that you really need. If you're selling a physical product, then yeah, address is good. But
Uh,
again, you only need what you need. Don't go beyond that.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Okay, I'm mindful we've gone over a few minutes, but
Yeah,
it's been a good session. I'm sure we should do a version two, which is going even more detail. And John, maybe we get you on
sure,
as
no
well,
problem.
because this is obviously 0 to 1, right? So we're just trying to help
Yeah,
people get that going. But the reality is that people want to go a little bit more into like let's go deeper, right? Let's let's
yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
touch on the
Yeah.
trends and see how that develops as well.
Yeah, I,
Um,
I mean, I mean, I mean, you can always
yeah,
look me up on like LinkedIn, and I can always have a conversation with you on that. Like, it's fine.
yeah,
We can always go into a more deeper conversation on all the rest of the stuff that you're looking at and everything. And yeah, it can be done. Again, security is about payment. How much are you willing to invest, and whether you really need
yeah,
to do it? If you're having a corporate website, you don't need any. The security can be at the bare minimum, as long as you're not trying to take their credentials. E-commerce, you need a little bit more security. But if you have a good host, usually the security is already pre-installed. You don't really have to break the bank just to get security. But if you're getting really sensitive information, then yeah, a bit more investment in security is good. And you need to have your Anyway, if you're a live entity in Singapore, you need to get your PDPA settled and your PDPC and all settled as well. It's a requirement. Don't forget.
yeah. Also, slightly shameless plug, but we just wanted to also mention that
Thank you.
Mark recently has services on the site as well. So if you are potentially interested in getting a site set up, you can do that. It's we think it's a pretty good deal, especially if you can get that multi-page setup, for example, or maybe you're interested in something more detailed. Please
Yeah,
do
this
feel
is a
free
this,
to
this is
take a
a
look.
this is a exclusive for Dual Circle peeps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah,
obviously we want to make sure we get the best deal for our members as well. So feel
yeah,
free to take a look at that. And thanks, Mark, for his efforts and already been working with clients or members in that sense. And I think the benefit that they've had is also just being able to sort of tap into your expertise as well. So it's not
yeah,
just about a service in that sense, it's about everything around that too. So yeah,
definitely.
cool.
All right,
Okay.
cool. Thank
And
you so
Mark, I
much.
know you didn't know about that as well, so I thought I'd put it in there obviously
Yeah.
to let everyone know.
Okay, thank you everyone. Okay, so we're gonna cut off from here
I'm gonna wrap
already.
up now.
All right.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. So we'll
So
thank
thank you
everyone. Have a
everybody.
great.
It was actually great. Thank you for having me on. It's really good to have this in conversation because sometimes I think some of this information is really needed. And if anyone wants to have a bit more of a conversation, you can always look me up. I'm happy to help. To talk about what is needed and what are the things that you want to try to avoid and everything like that. I'm more than happy to help. Just look me out on LinkedIn. I'm always going to be available. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll definitely look at some other sessions because I think there's a whole kind of topic we could touch on about like SEO versus AIO or whatever it's going to be called in the future in that sense. Just because I think that alone could have another hour and we could talk about how that works from
Oh,
different
there's a lot
industries.
of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Great stuff.
All right.
Okay, well, have a lovely
All right,
evening,
great.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank
Take care.
you. Okay, bye
Bye.
bye.